Have you ever wondered why some men are unforgettable? Why years after a relationship ends, a woman can move on, meet someone new, even get married, yet deep in her heart, there's still that one man she can't erase? I've worked with men for years, leaders, husbands, young guys just starting out, and I keep hearing the same question. Why do some men stay in her memory forever, while others are replaced so easily? It's not looks. It's not money. It's not sweet talk. Those things fade. What lasts is deeper. It's how you face storms, how you carry yourself when emotions run high, whether you live with purpose or drift through life like a leaf in the wind. Here's the paradox. Women don't remember the flashiest man in the room. They remember the one who made them feel safe, valued, alive, the man whose presence carved itself into her soul. Think about your own life. Maybe there was someone you loved who touched you beyond surface attraction. What made them unforgettable? Was it their words or the way they made you feel calm, the way they were real with you, unapologetically themselves? I've studied Stoicism for years, not just in books, but in real relationships, real chaos. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That line shaped my life, and it's the essence of being unforgettable. But let's be clear, this isn't about tricks, not fake calmness, not fake honesty, not a mask of strength. People see through that. Women see through that. What we're talking about are qualities built from the inside through discipline, reflection, and choices. So picture this when the storm hits. Do you collapse or do you stand steady? When she's emotional, do you panic or breathe and stay grounded? When life tests your values, do you bend or hold firm? Those are the moments she remembers. And maybe you've seen the other side. Losing your temper, trying to impress with gifts instead of presents, drifting through life without direction. If that's you, you're not alone. Every man I know has been there. So have I. The question is, do we stay there or grow from it? Because here's the truth, unforgettable men aren't born that way. They're forged through choices, reflection, and discipline. That's what Stoicism gives us, not rules, but a lens, a way to stand stronger, love deeper, live clearer. Now imagine this 5 years from now. You're sitting across from the woman who matters most. She shares a painful memory. You don't interrupt. You don't scroll your phone. You look her in the eyes and listen fully. She feels it, your presence, your steadiness. That moment stays with her forever. Or picture this 2A. She's crying in your car, saying her life's falling apart. Most men panic, but you don't. You breathe, your voice calm. It's okay. We'll get through this. That calmness isn't weakness. It's power, and she'll never forget it. But calmness and presence alone aren't enough. You need purpose. Purpose is magnetic. A woman admires the man who wakes up with direction, whether it's building a business, raising a family, writing a book, or mastering a craft. And admiration plants seeds of lasting memory. Still, purpose without compassion grows cold. Strength without gentleness feels distant. That's why balance matters. She doesn't need perfect. She needs a man strong enough to face the world and soft enough to hold her when she feels small. That balance unforgettable. And then, emotional self-control. Emotions happen: anger, jealousy, sadness. But do you control them, or do they control you? Women remember the man who, even in conflict, chooses reason over rage. The man who feels everything, but responds wisely. That's real discipline. And finally, authenticity. In a world full of masks, Being unapologetically yourself is rare. When you stand in your truth, calm and fearless, she feels it. And it gives her permission to be real, too. That kind of connection, that's respect. That's admiration. That's memory for life. So remember, being unforgettable isn't about trying harder, buying more, or saying the perfect lines. It's about who you are in the storm, who you are when no one's watching, who you are when life tests you. Years from now, when she remembers you, will she see the man who drifted, lost control, wore a mask just to please, or the man who lived with integrity, calm in chaos, balanced in strength and compassion, a man who made her feel safe just by being there? Be that man, not just so she'll remember you, but so you'll remember yourself. Because in the end, Stoicism was never about impressing others. It's about mastering yourself. Stay with me, because in this video, we're diving deep into each of these qualities, one by one. And I promise you this, if you apply them, not only will women see you differently, you'll see yourself in an entirely new light. Living by your values. Have you ever asked yourself, what truly makes a man? It's not the job he has. It's not the money in his account. It's not even the words he speaks every day. It's something deeper, something that stands when everything else falls apart. I call that your values, and the ability to stay rooted in those values. That's the foundation of being an unforgettable man. Picture this. A massive storm sweeps through, roofs blow off, trees fall, but the roots, buried deep, still hold firm. That's the image of a man who lives by his values. While others are swayed by temptation or collapse under pressure, he stands, steady, unshaken, because he knows what cannot be compromised inside of him. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you don't tie your values to things outside of you, no one can take your peace away." I've seen this play out countless times. The man who ties his worth to money, when the money's gone, he collapses. The man who ties his worth to recognition when the criticism comes, he crumbles. But the man who lives by unshakable principles, even if he loses everything, he still has himself. I remember a client years ago, a man in his 40s, successful entrepreneur, and then one financial disaster. He told me, "I lived my whole life trying to prove I was better than others. When the company failed, I had nothing left to stand on. I felt like I disappeared." That's the tragedy of so many men. They build the house of their life on sand, not stone. And yet I've also met men who didn't have wealth or titles, but carried something everyone respected: their consistency, their values. A father who never lies to his kids, a husband who always keeps his word, a friend who may not give you money, but never leaves you when you need him. That's the foundation, and that's what makes a man unforgettable. Have you ever felt that difference? Being around someone you know, no matter what happens, they won't betray their principles. That peace of mind is rare. And in love, it's even rarer. Sure, women can be attracted to looks or success, but what they remember, what sticks deep in their memory, is this: he didn't change who he was no matter the pressure, no matter the temptation. But let's be honest. Living by your values isn't easy. Life will test you over and over. When you're poor, money tests your integrity. When you're rich, power tests your humility. When you're lonely, desire tests your self-control. When you're in love, emotions test your reason. And if you don't have a clear set of values, you'll get blown around like a leaf in the wind. So let me ask you, what are your non-negotiables? Maybe it's honesty. Maybe it's discipline. Maybe it's compassion. Maybe it's freedom. Every man needs to decide for himself the values he won't sell, won't trade, won't compromise. Here's a simple exercise I give my students. Imagine you lose everything: money, reputation, relationships. What's left inside you that you refuse to abandon? If you can't answer, life will swallow you. But if you can, then no matter what you lose, you'll still stand. Because the real power of a man isn't in how much he owns, it's in what cannot be shaken from him. A rich man can be attractive, but a rich man who stays humble, who isn't corrupted by power, that's the man a woman never forgets. And this doesn't just apply to love, it applies everywhere. The leader I respect most isn't the one who makes the popular choice. It's the one who does what's right, even when it costs him. The friend I trust most isn't the one who always agrees with me. It's the one who tells me the truth, even when it hurts. That's living by values. One student once asked me, if I hold too tightly to my values, won't I become rigid? I smiled. Living by values doesn't mean being stubborn. It's like a tree. The trunk stands firm, but the branches, they bend with the wind. You can be flexible in action, but your roots, your values don't move. Let me share something personal. Years ago, my career was shaky. I got a lucrative offer, but it went against the principles I believed in. For days, I wrestled with it, money or integrity. In the end, I said no. I lost short-term rewards, but I gained something far more valuable: respect for myself. Looking back, I know that choice is why I'm able to sit here today, sharing this with you. So here's the truth. Every other quality of a man, calmness, self-control, authenticity, starts here, with values. If your foundation is strong, you can build tall. If your foundation is weak, everything falls in the first storm. So I'll leave you with this question. What will the woman who once loved me remember? The man who sold out his values just to be loved, or the man who stood firm, unshaken, even when tested? Trust me, she'll never forget the man who stayed true to his principles. Because when you live by your values, you don't just leave a mark on others, you leave a mark on yourself. And that's what Stoicism reminds us every single day. Don't live to please others. Live to be honest with your own soul. Living with purpose. After living by your values, the next thing that makes a man unforgettable is this: living with purpose. Have you ever met a man who didn't need to say much, but just by the way he walked, you could feel it? He knew where he was going. No bragging, no showing off, but in every gesture, every habit, every look in his eyes, you could sense one thing: this man has purpose. He doesn't just live to fill time. He lives for something bigger than himself. And that's the difference. Because some men, they just drift, living day to day, waiting for the weekend, wasting time, with no fire burning inside. And then there are others. They may not be richer, they may not be famous, but they wake up each morning with clarity. They know why they're here, and that clarity, you can't fake it. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than the things he pursues." The first time I read that, I closed the book and sat in silence. The question hit me hard. What am I chasing, and is it worthy of defining my life? So let me ask you, why did you get up this morning? Out of habit, out of obligation, or because there was something that made you feel life was worth living? If you've never asked yourself that, chances are you're living on autopilot, and autopilot might be comfortable, but it never makes a man unforgettable. Women understand this more than most men realize. You think they only notice looks or romance. No. Deep down, they're watching your direction. They're asking, is he drifting, or does he know where he's going? And here's the strange part, even if you haven't arrived yet, purpose gives off its own gravity. A woman can look at you and think, he may not be there yet, but I know he's on the path. I've worked with men who look successful on paper, big companies, expensive cars, big houses, but when I ask them, what are you living for? Silence. And then I've met a young carpenter, no fame, no fortune, but he told me, I want to build things that last, so even when I'm gone, people will still use them. That's how I leave my mark. You see, a man may be poor in wealth, but rich in purpose, and that purpose is what makes him unforgettable. Have you ever loved someone where just watching how they lived gave you inspiration, not because of gifts, not because of sweet words, but because their discipline and faith in their dream made you admire them? That's the power of purpose. But don't get it twisted. Purpose doesn't have to mean leading a nation or building an empire. For one man, it might be writing a book. For another, raising children with integrity. For another, serving his community. Or simply mastering himself each day. It's not about the scale of the mission. It's about the clarity and the commitment you bring to it. Picture this. You wake up at 5 a.m., not because someone forced you, but because you're building something. The woman beside you watches. She doesn't always say it, but she feels it. She knows you're not living aimlessly, and that quiet admiration, you can't buy it. You can't fake it. I've seen relationships end for one reason: the man had no purpose. One woman told me, I loved him deeply, but after a while, I felt like I was rowing a boat with no direction. He wasn't bad, he wasn't cruel, he just wasn't going anywhere. And I realized I can't trust a man with no compass. That stuck with me, because aimlessness is one of the fastest ways a man becomes forgettable. And maybe you're sitting there thinking, but I don't know my purpose yet. That's okay. The real question is, are you searching for it? A man who hasn't found his purpose but is honestly seeking it, he's stronger than the man who gave up and lets life decide for him. When you have purpose, you don't just become attractive to others. More importantly, you become attractive to yourself. You respect yourself more because you know you're not wasting your days. And that's what Stoicism taught me. Don't ask what life means. Live in such a way that you become the meaning. Think about it. A woman might remember a gift, a romantic trip. But what she'll never forget is the sight of you, late at night, bent over your desk, eyes burning with focus, chasing something bigger than yourself. Because in that moment, she knows you are not ordinary. So if you ask me, what makes a man unforgettable? I'd say this: start by asking why you live, and then move toward it every single day. Don't live just to exist. Don't live just to be loved. Live to become the kind of man who, even if she's no longer by your side, still commands her respect, her admiration, her memory. Because when you live with purpose, you're not just a memory in someone else's heart. You become a mark in the history of your own life. And that never fades. Unapologetic authenticity. Have you ever had this moment you look in the mirror one day and realize you're not you anymore? You change the way you dress, not because you like it, but because you think she will. You change how you talk, even your opinions, just to please. You laugh when you don't want to laugh. You nod when deep down you want to say no. And then you feel exhausted. I've been there. I know what it feels like to wear a mask day after day until you almost forget what your real face looks like. And here's the irony. Women may enjoy that performance for a while, but they will never truly respect it. They won't remember the man who lost himself just to please them, but they will always remember the man who dared to live real, even if that honesty sometimes made them uncomfortable. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." And being doesn't mean copying someone else's model. It means coming back to yourself, living real, no acting, no apologies for who you are. Think back for a moment. Do you remember a time when you spoke something raw and true without filters, without calculation, and instead of pushing someone away, it drew them closer? That's the power of authenticity. Imagine this: a woman asks for your opinion on something important: politics, life, maybe even your relationship. Most men will nod along, agree, avoid conflict. But you look her in the eye. You share your view calmly. No anger, no harshness, just truth from your heart. She may disagree, she may argue, but deep inside she respects you. And respect is the foundation of lasting memory. Now flip it. Do you know what makes a man forgettable when he constantly changes himself just to be accepted? At first, a woman may enjoy the power of shaping you, but over time, when she looks at you, she sees no identity, no soul of your own. And nothing is easier to forget than a shadow. I once coached a young man, let's call him David. He told me in his last relationship, he changed everything about himself to keep his girlfriend. He gave up hobbies, dropped his closest friends, even changed how he dressed. She stayed for a while, but eventually left. And when I asked why, David said, "She told me I wasn't the man she fell in love with anymore." It hurt, but it was true, because he lost himself in the relationship. You see, authenticity isn't selfish. It isn't stubbornness. It's courage. The courage to stand in your truth. It's a silent declaration. This is me. I will grow. I will improve. But I won't abandon who I am just to be loved. And that is what women never forget. And it's not just in love. It's in work, in friendship, everywhere. We all fall into the trap of wanting approval. We want the boss to praise us, friends to accept us, society to applaud us. But here's the paradox. The more you sacrifice yourself for acceptance, the easier you are to forget. When you live true, even if some love you and others dislike you, you leave a mark. I once had a teacher who told me, people don't remember the one who always agreed. They remember the one who dared to speak the truth. And he was right. History never honors those who wore masks. It remembers the ones who dared to be real. But here's the question. How can you live real? You have to know who you are. And to know who you are, you must dare to sit in silence, to face yourself. This is where Stoicism is so powerful. It teaches us to question ourselves, to ask, what really matters to me? Am I living in line with that, or am I living a borrowed life? Try this small exercise. Next time you're about to say what you think people want to hear, pause. Ask, is this really my opinion? If not, be bold. Speak your truth. You'll be surprised. Even when people don't agree, they respect you more for it. Because women, especially, have a radar for fake. You can buy gifts, say sweet words, but if they're not real, it fades fast. But a single honest word, a genuine act, that's what they carry for life. Now maybe you're wondering, if I live real, won't I risk losing people because of differences? Yes, maybe. But here's the reality. If you have to lose yourself to keep someone that's not love, that's a bad bargain. And sooner or later, the performance will break anyway. So when you hear unapologetic authenticity, don't confuse it with rudeness. It doesn't mean forcing others to accept you. It means living and expressing who you are with calmness, with humility, and that courage. That authenticity is what women and the world never forget. So ask yourself, if I were gone tomorrow, what would people remember? A man who lived real or an actor who lived to please? Your answer will define not only how others remember you, but how you remember yourself. Be the man who dares to live real, unapologetically. Because in a world full of masks, authenticity is rare, and rare is unforgettable. The power to inspire and lift others up. Have you ever met someone who, just by sitting next to them, you felt like you wanted to become a better version of yourself? No fancy speeches, no dramatic actions, just the way they live, the way they face struggles. It makes you stop and think, why can't I live like that? That's the power of a man who inspires and lifts others up. And trust me, women never forget a man like that. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Your life is shaped by your thoughts." But let me add this, your life is also shaped by the people you're around. Spend time with someone who complains all the time, you'll start to complain too. Stay around someone who avoids life, you'll drift right along with them. But sit beside someone who has fire, who lives with discipline, who stands strong, you can't help but rise. Think back for a moment. Have you ever been in a relationship, or even a friendship, where you felt yourself shrinking, where you stopped dreaming, stopped trying, maybe even stopped believing in yourself? It feels suffocating, doesn't it? Now remember the opposite, the person who made you believe you could do more, the one who gave you the courage to try, to step out, to rise after you fell. We all have someone like that, and I bet you still remember them. In love, this truth becomes even clearer. A woman might forget the gifts you bought her. She might forget the sweet words you once said, but she will never forget how she felt beside you when she became a better version of herself. I once worked with a couple. The man wasn't wealthy. He didn't fit the traditional idea of handsome, but the woman told me, "He makes me want to learn more. He makes me want to work out. He makes me want to live with more discipline. When I'm with him, I can't stay lazy, and that makes me love him even more." You see, real attraction isn't only about who you are. It's about what you awaken in others. So let me ask you, how do people feel after spending time with you? Do they feel drained or energized? Do they feel criticized or encouraged? Because you could be ordinary in every way, but if people always leave you feeling stronger, braver, more alive, you've left a mark. That's Stoicism in action. Be an example, not a preacher. Don't try to convince with words. Live true, live disciplined, live real. Others will feel it, and they'll rise with you. I've seen men fall into the trap of trying to teach their partner, becoming the coach, the lecturer. But women don't want a teacher. They want a man who lives by principles so that when they look at him, they're inspired. Think about it. A man who smokes but tells his girlfriend to quit, he's not convincing. But a man who quietly gets up every morning to train, without saying a word, suddenly she starts working out too. That's the power of example, the power of inspiration. And here's my personal truth. I've lived on the other side. There was a time when I pulled people down instead of lifting them up. I was negative, tired, complaining all the time. And I saw how it weighed down the people closest to me. I'm not proud of that season, but it taught me this: every man carries his own climate. When you walk into a room, do you bring light or shadow? Do you bring peace or heaviness? That's what people will remember about you. So ask yourself, if a woman loves me, Will she grow stronger with me, or will she slowly lose herself? The answer decides whether you'll be unforgettable or just a passing breeze. Here's the truth: you cannot give what you don't have. If you want to lift others up, you must lift yourself first. If you want to inspire, you must live a life worth being inspired by. And no, that doesn't mean you have to be great or famous. It can be simple. Waking up and training every day. Reading instead of wasting hours on meaningless scrolling. Treating people with kindness. Small things, done consistently. That's what turns you into real inspiration. Because women never forget the man who helped them grow. The man who didn't just love who they were, but believed in who they could become. The man who made them dream bigger, live stronger, love themselves more. So remember, this love isn't just about holding hands through the days. Love is climbing higher together. If you're the reason she believes she can be more than she ever imagined, then even if you leave her life, the memory of you will never fade. So be that man, not with grand speeches, but with the life you live. Because in the end, women never forget the man who helped them believe in themselves. Unshakable, calm in chaos. Be honest with me. When you get into a heated argument, what do you usually do? Do you yell to prove you're right? Do you slam the door and walk away? Or do you go silent on the outside while a storm rages inside? Most men react in one of these three ways, and all three leave scars. A woman may forgive, but she never forgets. And what she remembers is not your words, it's how you lost control. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He wasn't writing about love, but it applies perfectly. Because the truth is, you can't control when she gets upset. You can't control when she cries. You can't control when life throws chaos at you. But you can control how you respond. And that response is what she remembers forever. Picture this: it's late at night. She's in your car, crying, saying her life is falling apart. Most men panic. They try to fix it right away. Or they get frustrated because they can't handle the weight. But you sit steady, hand on the wheel, voice calm. It's okay. We'll get through this. In that moment, you become the anchor in her storm. And trust me, that memory stays in her heart, sometimes forever. See, calmness isn't indifference. It's not pretending you don't care. Calmness is power. It's a silent statement. I can't control the world, but I control myself. And that's enough to make you feel safe. Let's face it, life is chaos. Work is stressful. Society shifts. Family pressures build. In love, women carry both joy and fear, both hope and worry. When it all pours out, they're not looking for the perfect man with all the answers. They're looking for a man calm enough not to pour gasoline on the fire. Think about a child running to their father during a thunderstorm. The father can't stop the thunder, but his steady arms make it less scary. Women are the same. In chaos, they don't need your promises. They need your presence. I once had a student who told me, "I don't understand my wife. She tests me. She gets angry for no reason. She cries. I try to argue. Sometimes I lose my temper. Nothing works." I told him, "She doesn't need you to win the argument. She needs you to stand strong in her emotions." Months later, he came back and said, "All I did was breathe, stay calm, stop overreacting, and everything changed." That's the secret. Women never forget the times you lost control, But they, especially, never forget the times you stayed calm when the world shook. Here's the paradox. Most men think calmness is weakness. The truth, calmness is the highest form of strength. Anyone can yell, anyone can break things, but few men have the discipline to keep their voice steady, their breathing even, their eyes unwavering. That man, the calm man, earns respect from the whole room, and he becomes unforgettable to the woman beside him. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. I've failed many times. I've lost my temper when I was misunderstood. I've spoken harshly just to prove I was right, and afterwards, I felt empty, regretful. All I left behind was pain. And I had to ask myself, was I really strong because I yelled louder, or was I weak because I couldn't control myself? Stoicism taught me this. Calmness isn't a gift you're born with. It's a muscle. You train it. Start small. Traffic, being late, an insult. Instead of exploding, breathe. Instead of reacting, choose your response. Day by day, you build the habit of calm. Try this next time someone pushes your buttons. Pause. Count to 3. Just 3 seconds. That's the difference between leaving a painful scar and leaving a memory she'll treasure. Because women never forget the moment they lost control, and you didn't. When she cried, when she yelled, when she tested your limits and you stayed grounded. That's when you become the man she can trust, the man she knows will not betray his peace no matter the chaos. So ask yourself, when she looks back one day, what will she remember? The man who shouted, the man who walked away, or the man who made her feel safe just by being calm? Your answer will decide whether you're just a passing memory or a lasting mark. Because calmness in chaos doesn't just make women never forget you. It makes you respect yourself more. Because when you control yourself, you don't just master a moment, you master your life. Emotional self-mastery. Do you remember the last time your emotions took control of you? Maybe it was in an argument when she said something that cut deep. Maybe it was the silence of an unanswered text. Or maybe it was just a long, exhausting day and you unloaded your frustration on the very person you love most. And afterward, you regretted it. You told yourself, I could have handled that better. Trust me, I've been there too. Most men have. We often think strength means reacting fast, exploding loud, proving ourselves in the moment. But when the storm passes, all we feel is emptiness. And what she remembers, what stays with her, isn't the argument. It's the moment you lost control. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your judgment of it. And this, you have the power to revoke at any moment. That's the key. The world will always test you. The woman you love may test you. But real power, it's not in controlling them. It's in controlling you. Picture this. She suddenly goes silent. No replies. Nothing. Most men panic. They call non-stop. Or worse, they get angry, firing off harsh messages. But a man with self-mastery chooses differently. He sends one calm text. Then he gives her space. He doesn't let the fear of abandonment run the show. And that calm, that restraint, that's what carves itself into her memory. Emotional self-control doesn't mean you feel nothing. A stoic man isn't a robot. We feel it all: love, pain, anger, jealousy. But instead of letting emotions grab the wheel, we hold it ourselves. We acknowledge the feelings, but we choose the response. I remember a young man in one of my workshops. He told me, I can't control myself when she tests me. I get jealous. I snap. I lose it. And I asked him, do you think she's testing you to destroy you, or is she trying to see if you're strong enough not to be ruled by your emotions? He went quiet because deep down, he knew women aren't looking for explosions. They're looking for stability. Here's something fascinating. Psychology shows us that women often test men emotionally, not to break them, but to see if they can be trusted. If every provocation makes you lose it, she feels unsafe. But if you stand firm, she feels secure. And that sense of safety she will never forget. Think about it. When you lose control, you give your power away. A single word, a single action, a single text controls your state of mind. That's not strength. That's slavery. Real strength is this: to feel the anger, the jealousy, the sadness, and still choose wisely. I've failed at this many times. There were days when one careless comment was enough to set me off. But over time, I learned something: don't immediately react, observe. I remember one night, someone said something sharp, almost designed to provoke me. I took a breath, paused for a few seconds. Then I replied calmly, I understand you're upset, but I won't let anger drive me. And the energy in the room shifted. Instead of escalating, it dissolved. Because when one person stays calm, the whole space changes. Emotional self-mastery isn't just about love, it's everywhere. A leader who loses control loses the respect of his team. A father who explodes teaches his children fear, not respect. And a man who can't master himself slowly loses respect for himself. But when you master yourself, you don't just earn respect from others. You begin to respect yourself. And that feeling, that self-respect, has no price. So let me ask you, years from now, what will she remember? The man who shouted, the man who slammed the door, or the man who looked her in the eyes, still hurt, still human, but chose calm, chose reason. Trust me, she will never forget the moment you mastered yourself. Because in that moment, you didn't just guide the relationship, you guided your own soul. That's why Stoicism reminds us you don't have to control the world, you only have to control yourself. And when you do, life, love, and everything in between transforms. The balance of strength and compassion. Have you ever noticed how so many men misunderstand what strength really means? Some think strength is about being cold, untouchable, never showing a crack of softness. Others think love means being endlessly gentle, endlessly agreeable, bending so much that they lose themselves. And both extremes make a man forgettable. Because what women never forget isn't the man of stone or the man of sand. It's the man who knows how to balance strength and compassion. Think about Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome. He commanded legions, held the most power of his time. Yet in his private writings, he constantly reminded himself, be humble, be kind, be patient. He had absolute authority, but he didn't let that power turn him ruthless. That is balance, and that's what makes a man unforgettable. Picture this: you're walking with her late at night. Someone disrespects her. You don't shrink back. You don't explode into blind rage. You stand tall, eyes steady, voice firm, enough to show you won't be trampled. In that moment, she feels safe. That's strength. But later that same night, she breaks down in tears, sharing her deepest fears. You don't laugh. You don't say, stop being weak. You sit beside her, listen, place your hand gently on her shoulder, and you say, I'm here. I understand. That tenderness woven with strength is what she'll carry in her heart for life. Do you see the key? Strength without compassion is cold. Compassion without strength is fragile. But when the two meet, when they live together in you, you become unforgettable. I've seen relationships fall apart because men missed this balance. Some stayed too hard, never showing emotion, never opening up. Their women felt alone, even in the relationship. Others bent too much, always pleasing, always giving up themselves, and slowly they lost their magnetism. So who does she remember? Not the man who's always distant, not the man who's always agreeable. She remembers the man strong enough to protect and gentle enough to hold. I'll share something impersonal. Years ago, I had to make a difficult decision at work. It affected my whole team. I chose to be firm, clear, decisive, no hesitation. That was strength. But afterward, I sat with each person, listened to their fears, showed empathy. That was compassion. And what surprised me was this: years later, people didn't remember whether my decision was right or wrong. They remembered how I carried both strength and understanding in that moment. In love, this balance matters even more. A woman never forgets the man who can defend her in the world but still be soft with her in private. She never forgets the feeling of being held by arms that are strong enough to shield and a heart tender enough to comfort. And here's the deeper truth: this balance isn't just about her, it's about you. Every man has two sides, the warrior and the healer. If you live only as one, you'll always feel incomplete. But when you unite the two, you become whole. So ask yourself, in my relationships, am I too rigid so she can't come close? Or am I too soft so she can't lean on me? If your answer leans too far one way, it's time to find balance again. Stoicism teaches us wisdom lives in the middle, not in extremes. For men, that wisdom looks like this: strong, yet gentle, firm, yet kind. Now imagine this years from now. She looks back. She might forget the gifts you gave, the trips you took. But she will remember the feeling that with you, she was both protected and cherished. And feelings like that never fade. So, be that man, a warrior ready to protect and a heart ready to love. Because in the end, what women never forget is the man who gave them both strength and tenderness. The power of presence. Have you ever sat with someone and felt like they weren't really there? Their body was in front of you, but their eyes were glued to a phone. They nodded while you spoke, but you could tell their mind was somewhere else. And when you left, you asked yourself, do I even matter to them? That's the pain of absence, and it hurts more than rejection itself. Now, think of another moment, a time when you shared something important and someone looked you in the eyes, listened fully. No interruptions, no distractions, no rush to fix it. Just there with you. Do you remember how that felt? It was powerful enough to change the entire relationship. That is the power of presence. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." He meant that true strength isn't in regretting the past or worrying about the future. It's in living fully right here, right now. And in love, presence matters more than any gift, because women never forget the man who made them feel like the only person in the room. I once asked an older woman, twice divorced, "What do you remember most about your first husband?" She smiled and said without hesitation, "He always put down his newspaper whenever I started talking. I never felt invisible with him." Do you see, it wasn't luxury trips? It wasn't expensive jewelry. It was something small. He put the paper down. That was the power of presence. Now picture this. She's telling you about a childhood memory, maybe even a wound that still lingers. You have two choices. You can half listen, waiting for her to finish, or you can look up, eyes steady, silent, but engaged. That single act sends a message stronger than words. I hear you. You matter. That moment she'll never forget. Presence is like rare gold. In today's noisy world, where everyone's attention is split by pings, texts, endless scrolling, giving your full attention to one person is almost a luxury. And what is rare is always remembered. I'll admit I've failed at this in my own life. I remember once sitting with a close friend. He was talking, but my mind was tangled in work. He stopped mid-sentence, looked at me, and sighed, "You're not here." That cut deep, because in that moment I made him feel invisible. And from then on, I started practicing not just hearing, but being there. In love, it's no different. A woman won't remember how many bouquets you bought, but she'll remember the night you put down your phone and listened, really listened, when she said it was a bad day. She'll remember the safety she felt, knowing she didn't have to compete with the whole world for your attention. But presence is more than listening. It's living the moment. When you walk together, notice each step, each laugh. When you share a meal, don't rush. Taste it. Feel it. Enjoy the silence. Those small things, when lived fully, become unforgettable memories. Here's the paradox. Presence costs nothing, but it's one of the rarest gifts. Most men think women remember the big gestures, but the truth is the little moments of complete presence are what get etched deepest in their hearts. So ask yourself, when she remembers me, will she remember a man always distracted or the man who made her feel like the center of the universe? That answer defines your presence. Stoicism teaches us this. The present moment is all we truly own. The past is gone. The future hasn't arrived. If you can't live in the present, you lose not only the woman in front of you, but life itself. So if there's one thing I want you to take away, be the man who's present. Not sometimes, not when it's convenient, but as a way of life. Because women will never forget the feeling of being seen, heard, and loved fully in the moment you chose to be there. So here we are. We've walked together through 8 qualities that make a man unforgettable in the heart of a woman. 8 things that might look separate on the surface, but in truth, they connect, like threads weaving one tapestry. It begins with holding steady to your values, your roots that storms can't rip away. Then living with purpose, the fire that drives you forward each day. Then unapologetic authenticity, so you never lose yourself just to be loved. From that authenticity comes the power to inspire and lift others. But life won't always be calm seas. There will be storms. That's where unshakable calmness matters, being the anchor in chaos. And emotional self-mastery, so anger or jealousy never make you a slave. With that inner mastery, you step into balance, strong enough to protect, tender enough to love, and finally, the rarest gift of all presence, to be fully there, making her feel like the only one in the world. Do you see it now? These 8 aren't 8 separate roads. They're like 8 rivers, all flowing into one ocean, the essence of a man who lives with stoic strength and becomes unforgettable. But let me pause here and ask you, which of these qualities do you already live, and which are you still missing? Because the truth is, none of us are perfect. Even the greatest Stoics admitted their failures. What matters isn't perfection. What matters is whether you're walking step by step toward becoming your best self. I'll share something personal. When I was younger, I thought love could be held with charm, gifts, or romantic gestures. But when one relationship ended, I realized what she needed wasn't roses or dinners, it was my steadiness, my presence, my strength when I was simply myself. She once said, "You make me feel safe when you're just you." Those words stayed with me and became one reason I dove deeper into Stoicism. I share that with you, so you know these 8 qualities aren't abstract theory. They're real, and any man, if he chooses to cultivate them, can become unforgettable. Because years from now, no one will remember how much money you had. No one will care about the car you drove or the smooth words you said. What they will remember is how they felt with you. Did you live with values? Did you live with purpose? Were you true to yourself? Did you inspire? Did you stay calm? Did you master your emotions? Did you balance strength and compassion? Did you show up fully present? That's what they'll remember. And, most importantly, that's how you will remember yourself. So imagine this one day, looking back on your life, being able to say, I lived true. I lived with purpose. I held my values. I loved with presence. I was strong and I was tender. If you can say that, then you're not just unforgettable in the heart of a woman, you're unforgettable in the story of your own life. Because Stoicism at its core has never been about impressing others. It's about becoming a man your own soul respects. And when you live like that, you'll never have to wonder whether women will remember you. They will. But more importantly, you will remember yourself. So I'll leave you with one last question. If tomorrow no one was left to witness your life, would you still be proud of the man you are? Could you stand tall and say, I lived true, I lived with purpose, I lived with presence and love? If your answer is not yet, then start today. One small step, one small choice, one small act of courage. Because women may forget what you say, they may forget what you do, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And when you live with these 8 qualities, you're not just unforgettable in their hearts. You become unforgettable in the history of humanity itself.